Hi, this is Angela Russell, host of the Black Oxygen podcast. So, I am a Black woman that loves Wisconsin. That sounds like an oxymoron, but it is absolutely true. And I know I'm not the only Black person that loves this state. Black Oxygen podcast is all about amplifying the Black voices all throughout Wisconsin and a little bit beyond. I hope that you'll check out the podcast soon and let me know what you think. Take care. Bye.
Hi, Amy Impellizzeri, host and creator of I Know How This Book Ends podcast, and I have a confession to make. The most fun part about doing this podcast is not the celebrity VIP author guest list, although that is really fabulous. The most fun part is when I hear an author guest say, "No one has ever asked me that before." I love that. On this podcast, we're trying to ask the unsanitized questions, the questions no one's ever heard before. I'm trying to surprise the author guests and hopefully surprise the listeners too. Tune in and see if I can surprise you. I Know How This Book Ends. Season 4 available now.
Hi, welcome to Book Pop. This is our mini-sode. Today we have a debate for you.
Dun, dun, dun.
But first, what are you reading?
Oh, yes. So we got to do some catch up because we really want to talk about recent books that we've read. Mine's kind of untraditional because I've been reading this for a long time. Sometimes, especially with like essays or short stories, will spice up my reading by going back to something and I don't read it all at once. So that's what I've been doing with the Book of Delights by Ross Gay. These are beautiful, delightful, poetic little essays. Sometimes it's literally a sentence because he has this writing style of like run-on sentences that are really fascinating and beautiful and interesting. So sometimes it's just like one really long sentence that is a delight and it kind of goes into tangents and comes back.
There is a certain magic to me with run-on sentences.
Agreed.
I love that very much.
If you do it correctly,
Yes.
which Ross Gay absolutely does. And he had this project where he was writing, he forced himself to notice a delight and write about it every single day for like a year or something. And then he kind of edited them down and created this book. And so I keep it on my nightstand. And then I would read a couple when I had a night where I'm like, I need to unwind. I can't do my like tense literary fiction, or I don't really have my head around fantasy right now. I just want a couple of standalone things. I would read like a couple essays before bed. Or if I needed, it's almost like meditative. Like you can read one and then just kind of like lay there thinking about it before you go to bed. So it's been a long journey for me. I've probably been reading it for like 6 months off and on. And I finally, the other day, I only had like, 20 pages left, which is probably 10 essays or something. So I was like, okay, I just want to finish them all. I love them so much. So I finally ended up finishing it. It was beautiful. I really recommend it as a nightstand book like that. But also if you wanted to sit and read it in one sitting, it would be beautiful that way too.
This is a practice that I need to indulge in because normally like I pick up a book and I'm just like, I got to get to the finish line.
Got to finish.
The finish line. And I think there's so much to be had in like the meditation of it all and just consuming it in little pockets.
And that's really easier when they're like short stories, essays, right? Because if it's a narrative, you don't want to lose track of those details and you don't want to lose track of characters. But that's why I love essay books, especially just really short little beautiful things that you can take in and think about and set aside and come back to. So if you want to start that practice, highly recommend Ross Gay's Book of Delights. And he also has another one, like a second edition that is even more delights. I think it's called The Book of More Delights, in fact. I'm sure it's also very delightful. So that maybe will be my next nightstand pick that will sit there.
Perfect.
What have you been reading?
I finished. Now, we talked about Percival Everett when we talk about our adaptations in our mini-sode.
Right. We were talking about Erasure.
Erasure, yep. So I picked up James, which came out just a few weeks ago. And it is a retelling of Mark Twain's Huckleberry Finn through the eyes of Jim. And it is so emotional. It follows the same kind of plot point that happens in Huck Finn. There's so much more depth in Jim's perspective of what's happening, and his wife and child get sold, and then he's going to fight for his freedom and wants to purchase them so they can be together and leave slavery behind and move north. And it's really emotional, and it's really dark, and it's really tense at times, but also very hopeful. And there's just so much depth to the character of James that you just don't get from Huck Finn. And I loved it so much. Percival Everett is an amazing writer.
And he's really coming off of, I feel like part of the timing of all of this, where the adaptation of Erasure, which is like a 20-year-old book, but that came out and then won Oscars. And then this book was coming out right after the Oscars season. Yeah. His newest book, I felt like it's a great synergy of popularity for him to really have something that takes off like from the jump. Yeah. And he's just been building and building over this long career. And now it's like everyone knows when there's a Percival Everett coming out because of American Fiction, the movie. And now this hopefully has really put him on the map as like a bestseller, a literary juggernaut in more of like the mainstream pop culture book world. Okay, would you recommend it for someone who doesn't like remember the Huck Finn story, like Adventures of Tom Sawyer stuff? Because I was like, yeah, I've got an outline in my head. I've got a rough outline, maybe a couple of key plot points. I don't think I would like.
It's not necessary.
Okay, it's not necessary.
I'm sure that I have read Huckleberry Finn at some point. Yeah, I don't remember it.
Got it.
Just like jumped right into this because I had heard so many good things about it. And I don't think it's necessary. Absolutely not. I got so much from it without remembering Huck Finn. I mean,
that's good to know.
You have the knowledge of, kind of the plot points of it just from pop culture.
Exactly.
But yeah, you don't need it.
Okay, I'm excited about that then.
Yeah. It's very good.
Yay.
Okay, now on to our debate.
Yes.
Okay.
Today, I know we're going to fight it out. Just kidding. We wanted to talk about something we talk about in the store a lot and customers have a lot of opinions about. So we thought we would each take a side of the paperback versus hardcover debate. What do you prefer? When do you prefer it? What's good about it? What's bad about it? And rather than just chatting about both sides, we were like, no, we're each going to take a side, high school debate style. We're going to lay out our points and we're going to try and convince people of our own side and see how it goes. And then we can round back and help each other fill in each other's arguments by the end. But
yes, there's a time and a place for both.
That's right.
A hardcover and a paperback.
That's true. See, you're already starting from a place of like mediation. And I really would like to fight with you about something, but it's really hard for us to fight also. So
yeah,
let's see what we can do.
Let's try and fight. Okay, I am team paperback.
I'm team hardcover.
Okay, so physical characteristics of a paperback.
Okay, I like this. You're going aggro. You're like taking right off the... Great, go.
So they're softer. You can like cuddle into bed with them. You don't have to like accommodate this big, hard book. You can really get cozy with it. They're smaller. What else do you
want me to let you keep going, or do you want me to start fighting you point by point?
Nope, I have more. The design is more simple.
Okay.
And that's what I have on physical characteristics.
Okay, physical characteristics. Yeah. Hardcovers. Substantial, made from more premium quality products. Durability, they last forever. You can, like, as a gift or as something you want to pass around to your friends, having a hardcover is going to be just like much more durable. Paperbacks for me, shove it in my purse, gets all ripped up instantly, cover bent back, cuddling it in bed. Yeah, that's great, except for when you fall asleep with it on your face and then it's all jacked up in the middle and like the pages are all, also water damage with paperbacks. That's a real risk. Hardcover outside stays much more put together. I feel like they're also more beautiful with their physical characteristics. Like a hardcover, there's like it's special feeling. The weight of it, I feel like, is a pro and not a negative. I do get that, like, if you're traveling or laying in bed, like, you need something lightweight for practicality.
Which brings me to portability.
Okay.
Because you can just shove a paperback in your purse. You could shove 3 paperbacks in your purse.
You think I don't have hardcovers in my purse all day, lugging those babies around?
I know, but they're so heavy.
They are. It's a workout. Okay, let's turn it into a pro. I can like bench press my hardcovers, do little bicep curls like between reading breaks.
Yep.
But it's true. Portability is a factor. I will say that depending on the book, there is also a prestige factor for a hardcover, and maybe a paperback that you don't care is something you don't care about as much because you are going to throw it in your purse or you're going to take it to the beach and it's going to get full of water and sand and sun lotion and coffee splatters or whatever. Whereas like a hardcover, you have to be a little more gentle with because it's more special.
Yeah. Then I can't eat my tacos while I'm reading because I'm worried I'm going to get taco juice on my book.
That's very fair.
Which brings me to pricing.
Oh, okay. This one is tough for me. I'm not going to lie.
Paperbacks are so much cheaper and you can buy more books then if you're not spending $35 on a hardcover book.
Okay, this is fair. Hardcovers do cost more. They are made of higher quality materials. They are larger. They use more materials. However, most places like Lake City Books, for example, you could get a used hardcover, and I will take a used hardcover over a new paperback of the same book any day of the week because the hardcover is just better. Like, again, it feels more special. It feels like something I might want to keep more. And the used hardcovers we sell for cheaper than new paperbacks. So you actually can get a good deal, just maybe not on the new cover, the new hardcover. Price again, hardcovers retain their value longer because their quality is higher. So if you have a hardcover and you want to bring it back to sell it to a used bookstore, for example, you're going to get more money for it because it is going to be in better condition and because you can sell it for more. And so that's a plus as a bookseller, that's for sure. But I feel like it's also a plus for people who own a large library of hardcovers. They are worth more. They cost more, but they are worth more.
Okay, then there comes the release date of it all, which might just...
I have a little leg up in this one.
You do.
In America, at least, books almost always come out in hardcovers first. And that also, I feel like, leads to, like, I feel more excited when I'm reading a hardcover because it's probably, like, a newer thing, right? Whereas, like, a paperback's, like, been around for a while. And I feel like I'm getting in on the ground floor when I'm reading the hardcover.
Yeah.
Usually, a paperback for a book in America doesn't come out until hardcover sales have slowed down. For, these publishers are trying to make money, right? They want to sell the more expensive version for as long as they can. So then like 6 months to a year after a hardcover has been out, they'll be monitoring sales and also be looking for, like, if it's right around Christmas time, maybe they want to get the paperback out for Christmas to create like a second bump in sales and a second like chance to do a press release about this book, for example. Or get a new design out. Like if the hardcover, the physical cover didn't sell great, they might try a new design for the paperback and see if they can get more eyes on it and sell the book by its cover a little bit.
Right.
Anyway, that's just like a little side tangent into the patterns of releasing hardcovers versus paperback. Whereas in the UK, for example, and some other places, paperbacks will come out alongside hardcovers or they come out much sooner. And I feel like here in capitalist America, we just try to milk that almighty dollar and get as much money. And by we, I mean the publishers.
Yes, an example of that is Remarkably Bright Creatures.
Yes.
Released.
Oh, we should have looked that up.
We should have.
A couple years ago.
Years.
Probably like 2022 at least, if not 2021.
And it is still not out in paperback.
And it's been having this popularity resurgence. So they thought they were going to release the paperback last summer. I ordered some. They actually shipped me one single copy of the paperback before they pushed the date to like 2025. And now we have this paperback that we can't sell.
Yeah.
And it's just sitting there. I'm like, but I'm curious what you think, because that happens, I think, when there's a resurgence in hardcover sales. And then they're like, no, we can push back the paperback date. We might as well, make hay while the sun is shining, as they say. So since you read that book, I was curious, like, what's so great about Remarkably Bright Creatures?
Well, I loved Remarkably Bright Creatures because it took me a while to figure out there's like two storylines, and I kept like racking my brain. How the heck do these two storylines have to do? Like, how do they have to do with each other? What is the parallel? And then it's also like narrated by an octopus, and there becomes this question that is, who is really the remarkably bright creature? What are they talking about? So I thought that was like a really beautiful sentiment in it.
Is it that like one of the, you don't know which one is the octopus that's narrating? Is that the mystery?
The octopus right away. You know it's the octopus right away.
That'd be funny if you had to guess.
The namesake of the book is kind of like,
yes, I see.
Becomes.
Is it the human or is it the, okay.
Yeah. But it is all from the octopus, and he has like a shorter lifespan, so it's also his perspective on life is a little different. And
ooh,
yeah, it's charming. It's very charming, and it has to deal with one of the characters in it, like the with the storyline that it's following. Her life is, there's tragic things that happen. She loses her son, she loses her husband, she's alone, and she's aging, and she has this beautiful house that she grew up in as a child, but she has nobody to take care of her, and she gets hurt, and she's like, who's going to take care of me? And she grapples with like moving to an assisted living facility. And it's all these really difficult themes of life and loss and, aging that are presented in a really beautiful and digestible way. That, like, softens all of those really hard topics.
That does sound nice, actually.
Right.
You've almost convinced me to get over my fear of octopi and try to read that. But I'm not a fan. Not gonna lie.
I love the octopus character. I think he's great. His name is Marcellus. Marcellus, something. Great name. Like,
it's cute.
It's
okay,
adorable.
good.
It's cute.
You have to read the book to find out what his name is.
Yep. There's a little mystery in there, and then I liked it a lot.
So maybe, I bet it's a good book club pick. Yeah. And that is why it's kind of been bouncing back. But like, we couldn't keep it in stock this spring when I was like, I thought that this would have died down by now.
Right. Nope. Speaking of switching the covers, when it comes out, Monsters, The Fan Dilemma.
Yes, by Claire Dederer.
Which I loved the cover in hardcover.
Me too.
But it's not the same in the paperback that's coming out.
Really? I haven't looked at the cover.
I Googled to see what was the issue, like why they were switching covers, and I couldn't find anything on it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I think I do vaguely remember seeing that it was different. Is it still like very white? Like, is the
It's
book
white and like black and orange maybe. It's like a kind of silhouette situation, but there's people on it.
Interesting. I wonder if they're trying to make it like a little more graphic, because it was felt very like literary looking with the image and maybe like too obscure, and she wanted it to be like a little more pop culture-y.
I can see that. Yeah. I really loved the hardcover cover. Yeah. The art on it was
very true.
Just intriguing.
It was. Yeah. Well, interesting.
Yeah. Hardcovers or soft covers?
Oh, yeah, what else?
Consumer preference.
Okay.
What is your experience with this? Because I feel like most book buyers, they want the paperback.
Yes.
But they also will not wait for the paperback. If it's a hardcover, they're going to buy the hardcover. But then there's the odd customer that's like, I needed hardcover.
Yes, exactly. That's what I was going to say too, is we have a few people that I've seen throughout the years who say like, no, I want the hardcover. And like, fun fact or behind the scenes, little tip here is, once a paperback is out, most booksellers are not going to most bookstores are not going to also carry the hardcover, because at that point it's just a higher price point and it takes up more room. And the vast majority of consumers will want to take the same content but in a cheaper package. Like if it's more affordable, why would you buy a new hardcover over a new paperback sitting next to each other on the shelf? But there are, I think those people, there's a couple of reasons I've heard that they prefer the hardcover. One is giftability. Like if you want to give it to someone, it feels more special to give them a hardcover and more thoughtful. Two is print size. So the actual font in hardcovers is usually bigger. There's more real estate. And a lot of older customers who maybe don't want to quite go to large print yet, but feel like they can see a hardcover text a little bit better. That has been a common reason I've heard. Have you heard other reasons of why they prefer a hardcover? I do feel like most people we even have people who are like waiting for paperbacks, right? Of like,
I've been waiting for tomorrow.
That's a good example.
Waiting for that paperback.
That's another one that's been in hardcover for years because it was so popular and it continues to be so popular. But that comes out this summer.
It does. And I feel like I've been waiting this long. I can wait another.
Exactly. Once you wait like the year or even 2 years, you're like, well, now I'm definitely not going to buy the hardcover.
Yeah. My serious opinion on it is I'm not going to wait for a paperback if there's a hardcover that I want to read.
Correct. Same.
But I do prefer the coziness of a paperback. And I like to bend it. And I don't want to feel like if I ruin this book by getting tacos on it, I'm out $35 or like.
Right. You don't want to have it be like this precious thing that you have to treat fragilely.
Reckon. Yeah.
I agree. I think it depends. I guess I'm in kind of a unique situation because I do resell a lot of the books that I buy because we also sell used books here. And if I don't feel like I need to keep something to reread it, then I will just buy something and then resell it back to the store to sell. So for that, hardcovers are so much better and they're not going to show as much wear.
Yeah.
And I do feel like I'm reading so much new stuff that I end up reading hardcovers more than paperbacks. And then it feels like exciting for me to read a hardcover. Whereas when you're reading like backlist stuff and it's a paperback, it's just like, I don't know, it's not as special. It feels to me like drinking out of like a beautiful heavy glass tumbler versus like a plastic cup.
Okay.
A little bit. You know, just the experience of whatever you put in that heavy glass tumbler is going to taste a little bit better to me than the thing in the plastic cup.
On hardcovers. How did this happen?
I'm very convincing. But I do think that I agree that especially when you like are doing quantity over quality, then paperbacks are the way to go. And there's just the affordability alone. And if you're reading really fast, then like, I paid $35 for something I'm going to read in a day and it feels less exciting. One other thing I was going to point out is that libraries, if you think about like picking up library books, they drastically prefer hardcovers because they want to get as much longevity out of them. And again, it's that durability factor.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Even though it takes up more room on the shelf, it also is a little more visible then too. So it's not like they have like lots of hidden little paperbacks. It's like more substantial. They last a long time. So, if libraries like them, I feel like we all should.
And I think we both agree that mass market trade paperbacks are
the worst. I think people are so crazy that can read those. I feel like as a fantasy reader and an early romance reader, those often came in the mass market. Like little, if you don't know what we're talking about, we say mass market, it's like the pocket size, but then really thick. It's kind of like cheap paper.
All the way.
Right. You get them in like grocery stores and airports, and the text is usually absolutely tiny.
So unreadable.
The pages are like give you paper cuts. And it's really hard because they're so thick to like get them all the way open so that you can actually read the text towards the center of the page. I just find it to be a really uncomfortable reading experience to be holding a mass market.
Like pulling it apart to try and see the words on the page. Yeah.
Exactly. We didn't really even mention ebooks or audiobooks. Obviously, completely different ways to read. Yeah, that could be, the digital debate.
Oh, I like it.
Ebooks versus audiobooks. I mean, those are really different too. As a bookstore owner and manager, I feel like we are a little partial towards physical books. Like that's just a thing that we're surrounded by them. We see them, they're beautiful, and we love them and have always loved them. So they just attract you to them in a way that an ebook can't. But again, people who are doing quantity and just want to like power through a lot of reading, I get why you would want to do an ebook. To me, there's nothing like part of the experience is holding the book in my hand.
Absolutely.
What do you think, America? Hardcovers versus paperback. Did we convince you in one way or another? Do you have a strong preference or a reason that we didn't mention?
We'd love to know.
We would love to know.
DM us on Instagram.
Yeah. Comment on YouTube. Comment on Instagram.
Find us. It's the internet. You can find us.
Yeah. Book Pop, the podcast.
Thank you for listening to Book Pop.
Bye.
Bye. You can find all these titles and more at lakecitybooks.com/Book Pop. You can listen to Book Pop on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and at Speak.Studio/Book Pop. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and review. For a behind-the-scenes look, find us on YouTube at Book Pop the Podcast. Comment on today's episode by sending us an email at bookpoppodcast@gmail.com or find us on Instagram at Book Pop the Podcast.